friends out there. Welcome to DNF Diaries. Every other week, we bring you a wonderfully entertaining, low stakes, absolutely no shame story of a DNF in the ultramarathon, sub-ultra, FKT, or through hike world. For those of you who are not familiar, DNF stands for Damn Nefarious Flamingos. Just kidding. It actually means did not finish. And let's go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm Arlee Hiskey, and I am a school counselor by day and a runner by every other time of day that's not at school.
So true. My name's Tara Dower, and my chosen adventure, I am, a multifaceted person, if you will. But I have added to my long resume of faceted things. I'm an international traveler now. Oh my gosh, so cultured, so amazing, and still a little afraid of international travel. Was it great? Absolutely. Was it beautiful? Yes. Was it terrifying to do on my own? Yes. But I can add that to my resume. So look out, world. I'm here to travel to your country, and I probably don't know your language, but I'm going to try my best to communicate with you. Anyways, also, we are accepting DNF stories through our email, dnfconfessions@gmail.com, or you can fill out the Google form in the show notes if you have an interesting story about DNFing an ultramarathon, marathon, foot race, through hike, FKT. Please write into us. The more detail, the better. We will keep all stories and folks anonymous. We may reach out to you to get more details, so include a phone number or email if you'd like that, if you'd like us to reach out and ask some questions. So I think it's like next episode, that's gonna be Arlee's episode, so this episode's my episode, and we've been doing a lot of like ultra marathon DNFs, which are great, and they are always different, and it's great lessons for people to learn in their next race. But Arlee and I were talking, and Arlee has a different story in 2 weeks. It's actually is it about a through hike?
I've got a couple up my sleeve to tell. Couple in the inbox, not really in my sleeve, more like in my inbox. We've got some FKTs. We've got some run club DNFs.
What?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. We've got some children DNFing. We've got some good things coming down the pipeline.
Yeah. Because in the intro, we always say like ultra marathon, sub ultra, FKT, or through hike world, and we've just done ultra marathons. Like I said, that's great, but I think like the more diversity, I think there's like a diverse crowd that listens to the podcast, and it's gonna be exciting to tell like a new sort of story, I think. So I'm excited for that.
One of these days, I'll tell my dramatic Colorado Trail through hike DNF.
Oh my gosh, yes, it was
not yet.
We got to work up to that. We got to give people like a little taste of it.
Get some more listeners.
And then we also eventually are going to have old Rasky on the podcast, where we're going to talk about our DNF on the John Muir Trail. All three of us are joint DNF on the John Muir Trail, which is an exciting story.
That'll be a trip of a story. Everyone buckle up for that one. Make sure you're in a car with a seatbelt, maybe a helmet also.
Maybe don't drive while you're listening to it. You might crash. But I was thinking, with
your eyes closed while listening to it.
I was thinking like when Rascal does come on the podcast, by the way, if you don't know Rascal, you should. I mean, the name speaks for itself.
You can find her on Instagram at MeganJoy94. And you might have seen that written in a trail register somewhere.
Probably everywhere there's a trail, there's probably a Rascal in there that has hiked a trail. But I've prepared myself. I'm like, how would we do that? Because like, I could just imagine it's all of us talking over each other, just trying to tell the story. It's like, I could just like sit there and like add my 2 cents every like 5 minutes, but I feel like Arlee and Rascal, that would be hilarious. Y'all are so funny together. I love the dynamic of a Arlee and Rascal story.
It'll be maybe the hardest podcast episode to follow along with and the most entertaining.
Yeah.
Everyone will feel like you're there.
Yeah, so get ready for that. We're just, previewing future stuff. But yeah, should we get into our ultra news updates? Short story about a run we've been on recently.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a lot. Do you have anything you want to talk
Of
about?
what you have. So I want you to take away the ultra news.
Oh, great.
Run with it.
Yeah. Well, have so much. But I thought we would go over like Chianti, 120K, which is 75 miles for Americans. In American, makes a lot more sense to say 75 miles than 120K, in my opinion. I had to do a lot of that, like as an international traveler. I had to convert a lot. So cultured. But it's also 5,200 meters. What does that mean? I don't know, but I know it's 17,000 feet, which makes more sense to me. It's that much climbing. That's a lot for 75 miles. And it's also the second to last 25 Western States 100 golden ticket race. Which, Canyons.
The last one?
Yeah,
In
Canyons
Texas,
is the last
right?
one.
Yeah.
No, Canyons is like on the course of Western States in California.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was in Texas.
Well,
Bandera's in
Bandera.
Texas. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I'm going to just say this quote from I Run Far. Esther, who's a great writer, she wrote up this great like race, like post-race review. And so I'd recommend go read that, and I Run Far. She did a great job. But I'm going to just quote her and say, rain overnight and in the early hours of the race. So along with the footsteps of thousands of runners across all of the events races, it made the course very muddy, with some of it quite sticky and other parts incredibly slick. In fact, the final climb to the finish is an insane thing to say. It was so slippery that the camera e-bikes following the top runners couldn't make it up to stay in contact with them. The conditions made for interesting racing throughout, with some runners comparing it to cross-country conditions in the UK. So that just is a little preview to the mud there was at Chianti. For the women, Fiona Pascal from the UK won in 12:34:59. Johanna Antali from Finland got second in 12:53:22. Zara Garcia, Spain, came in at 13:12:31. And then on the men's side, Jim Walmsley, old Jimbo from the United States, got 9:59:48. He just there was a quote I read. I don't know if this is his exact quote, but he said he got bored running with Vincent and Killian, and so he just took off.
Jim, excuse me?
Isn't that insane? He got bored running with Killian.
There was a language barrier.
He did spend those 2 years in France, so maybe he was
felt excluded as the only American. He was like, I tried really hard to be European and it didn't work. And now I'm stuck here with you two.
That was kind of my experience when I went to Europe. As an international travel, so cultured, I felt a little left out as, the American. So I understand Jim, Yeah, you just got bored.
Kind of open up that can of whoop ass on him. 30 minutes ahead of Killian? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Legendary. Those two are going to throw down at States.
Yeah, with a lot of people in tow. Killian, Jornet from Spain, got 10:27:27. Apparently, it was quite the race in the last 5 miles between him and Vincent.
They're 30 seconds apart.
Yeah. Vincent Boyard. I'm so sorry.
Boyard.
Yep. Yeah, France got 10:27:57. So yeah, 30 seconds apart. Yeah, it was quite the race. So that's cool. Happy for them. Sorry to hear it was so muddy, but that's just. It seems like there has been a lot of races lately that have been a little, the conditions have not been ideal, and I love that. How do you feel about non-ideal racing conditions, muddy, technical, freezing rain? It's just not what you expected. I personally love it, but how do you feel about it?
I feel like that's what we train for.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like especially, the Northeast. So I'll talk about it all day long. East Coast, East Coast. We train in shit conditions out here, like literally 75% of the year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, Bubba's 2 years ago, it rained like 6 inches
Oh.
throughout the race.
Ugh.
And it was an absolute nightmare. It was like special realm of hell, the kind of stuff we were running through. But it that's just like what the race is. That's what you come for. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it's not, I think fast times are incredible. And, you come for the race.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
maybe you don't break a record that day, but doesn't matter. That's the race you get. That's the race you get. I
Yeah.
think that's an exciting part of running is that conditions matter. And so you got to be tough. You can't just be fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. Like we prepare so often, if it's raining, I find myself like, oh, I'll just wait till the rain stops in 2 hours. It's like, no, sometimes it's good to get out there and do the hard thing and,
Yeah.
run in crap conditions. So I have a question for you. How do you know if somebody's from the Northeast?
Well, they call trails in Colorado sidewalks.
It's kind of like when how do you know if someone's a vegan? Because they'll tell you right away.
they start trash talking West Coast trails.
Instantly. I know I do that when I come to Colorado. These are so easy. I'll be running with someone like, I used to run in the Northeast, Vermont, New Hampshire. Have you ever ran there? Obviously not.
I
we
stand by what I said.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for the Northeasterners. They're quite tough people. Shout out to all. This is essentially a podcast about Riley Brady and Northeast. Yeah. So
basically a fan club. So
yeah. Anyways, also I just want to thank Ken Seals from the Ultra Minute. He provides these quick snippets of ultra news, and that's where I get a lot of my little where I'm reminded. Oftentimes I don't remember there's so much that happens. But another one, no one finished a Barkley this year. I think everyone knows that. But I read on John Kelly's post. He's run it so many times, but he said each loop in this year's edition, each loop had around 15,000 feet of gain instead of the average 10,000 per loop. So it was made a lot harder. Nobody finished. John Kelly was the only one that finished the front run, and he looked wrecked afterwards.
It's nasty.
Uh-huh.
I watched the Jasmine Paris's new Barkley YouTube movie.
Yeah.
I was on the spin bike doing a casual spin on a Friday morning at 5 a.m. Just watching that. Oh my God.
Was it good? I haven't watched it.
You gotta
yet.
watch it.
Oh.
You gotta watch it. You gotta watch.
Oh, I need
Everyone
to.
out there, watch it if you haven't already. And then watch it a second time.
I think I'll watch it on my way to a race, so I get really pumped up. If I watch something that inspires me and I don't have anything on the books soon, I get a little antsy, ants in my pants. Yeah. Then Big Ulta in Chuckanut, I'll talk about that. Chuckanut sounded brutal. There was several runners coming out of it with hypothermic symptoms. Congrats to Chris Myers for the first place. He kind of dominated. He has been dominating. I think he's doing Lake Sonoma, and then he's doing Western and CCC. So he's got quite the lineup. And then my new teammate, Jade Bellsberg, she got first for women. And that's so cool. I'm a big fan of her. She is strong and fast, and so glad she's on the Ultra team. Big Ulta was proving to be a huge race to watch. David Roach sprained his ankle, though, which was upsetting. But power couple Eli Hemming and Tabor Hemming came out with their respective wins. Eli obviously with the men and Tabor with the women. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about this huge news with Sabrina Stanley signing with OnlyFans. What's your thoughts on that?
I feel like hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's cutthroat out there for y'all trying to make it as professional runners. Uh-huh. If OnlyFans is willing to give her some money to chase her dreams, take the money and run, girlfriend. I'm here for it. I think why are we limiting running contracts to just shoe companies?
Mm-hmm. And
or apparel companies? If they're going to give you money, Also, like, whatever. There's no shame in sex. Go for it.
So true.
Take it. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I was like super surprised by that. I just did not see that coming at all. She had joked about it like a year ago about starting an OnlyFans. And, I just took it as like, oh, that's just like a little
Yeah.
joke. But like she did it. She went all in. Yeah, I exactly like why is there this big like especially with like athletes and like this and like
Mhm.
sex work or not sex work, but like OnlyFans. And it's like awkward and weird. And it's like, well, like, yeah, like you said, if they're willing to like provide money so somebody can run, like awesome, do
Yeah.
it. And so that got me curious. It's like, are there other athletes that are sponsored by OnlyFans? And they are. Yeah, there are quite a few. If you
Cool.
just search like fans or athletes supported by OnlyFans, there's like a list of them and a lot of Olympic athletes. So I thought that was like, that's new knowledge. I thought that it's
Cool.
so interesting and like out of the box. And I think that will provide a lot of like other professional athletes that might not have the opportunity with like a regular shoe or like apparel brand to like look and think outside the box of like who they can partner with and who's willing to like support their goals. And that will just like create maybe more of an environment where like these like shoe or apparel brands that are like the traditional sponsors,
Mhm.
they will start maybe trying to support people a lot better, hopefully.
I feel like it's just gonna like raise the bar
Yeah.
for how athletes are treated. The more players in the game in terms of like sponsorship opportunities. And, obviously I'm saying this is like an athlete that's not sponsored, right? Like that's not the kind of running that I'm doing. But like the more people who are sponsoring, the more that you can like ask for in a contract because there are more opportunities. So,
Mhm.
if one brand says like we're not doing that, then you're like, all right, cool, I got other options. Like I can
Mhm.
go places.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's just great for like the whole field of professional ultra running or,
Mhm.
professional sports in general, especially for women who, are afforded, like there isn't parity in pay and in opportunities to be a professional athlete. So the more opportunities that exist, the more women that there's going to be in professional
Mhm.
sports, which is like my ultimate goal is to
Mhm.
have more women competing professionally and like being paid for the work they're putting in. So I just think that's really cool. And like, I don't know, maybe a perk of like running for a company that's not a brand is that you're not tied to using their products.
Mhm.
Like OnlyFans isn't making shoes or
Mhm.
apparel or like vests and stuff. So you can pick what works best for you
Yeah.
without, being limited to just the brand that's, sponsoring you.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I mean that like opens up a lot of doors for people. Like if they don't want to go with like the traditional route, like there are a lot of options. There's a lot of different options. And I think Sabrina Stanley has always been kind of that trailblazer in the sport and always been like outspoken. So I think it's kind of cool that she's leading the way. And also, I wonder what like her contract looks like. Like OnlyFans didn't start out as like what it is today. It started out as like a Patreon sort of
Mm-hmm.
model, and then it kind of switched that. And then OnlyFans was like, okay, we're not going to allow this kind of content. And then everyone left, and nobody was using OnlyFans. They're like, oh, just kidding. And it was like within 24 hours, they like rescinded that, and like everyone came back. So I wonder if like her contract is like what that looks like, and I guess we'll know. I for the first time went on OnlyFans when Sabrina posted her link, and obviously you have to pay for it. I didn't pay for her content, but that was the first time I went on, and it looks like a cool format. So excited to see what comes out of that.
Sweet.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you have a run that you went on recently that you want to talk about?
Well, I did my long run on Saturday, 3.5 hours. And all my stupid friends were busy. So I was by myself.
Wow.
And it was great, actually. It was so good. I ran into the wind for approximately 2 hours. And that was a really special experience that I got to have alone. And then I got water at this man's house who owns 3 red Teslas, and he gave me his card if I ever need solar panels.
Gosh.
So that was lit.
Yeah.
Listen to a great episode of Normal Gossip. Shout out.
Yay. Yeah, love normal gossip.
That's my run story.
Did you like not double back and like get that like push from behind? Or
No,
did
I got to pick up at the end. I said, Cleo, I have a 3.5 hour long run. If I just run, will you just pick me up at the end? She said, sure. I said, cool, cool.
That's a good partner right there. Love that.
Yeah.
May that love find me one day. So I did my 22 miles at before 8 a.m. in Nuremberg, or Firth to Nuremberg, Germany. Because I am, as you guys don't know, I'm an international traveler, cultured, so very cultured over here. And it was so cool. It was really early and I was still pretty jet lagged. So like I think Firth in Germany, I think they're like 8 hours. What is it 6 or 8? Somebody said it was 8 hours ahead. So I was like so out of it. But I got it done before 8 a.m. so I could still like hang out with my nieces and nephews who live there in Germany. And sometimes, especially when traveling, I feel like I'm not doing enough. Like I'm not getting an effective run in because maybe I don't know the trails that well and I'm not doing the vert I need or whatever. And I feel like I am not doing my workouts effectively. And I spiral pretty easily when it comes to training. And like I have this intensity towards training and no grace given to like not, I don't give myself any grace when it comes to like not doing training, and I'm like pretty hard on myself, where that's not very typical in my everyday life. Training is kind of like that. It's just like singular. I'm just very intense when it comes to that. And so it was a practice in like giving myself grace and just like being happy with doing my best. Like that's all we can really do at the end of the day, is just doing our best, especially when traveling. Training daily when traveling is difficult, and maybe you're going to look back in 10 years and you're not going to think about your long run 22 miles you did before 8 a.m., but you are going to think about the time you spent with your niece and nephew in Nuremberg, Germany, looking at castles and stuff. So, that was definitely something I had to come to terms with, and I'm lecturing myself on that. So that was a good like practice and grace, and like also doing hard things, because it was really hard to do that before 8 a.m. I had to wake up at like 4:30, which I hate doing that. And also, they have these little espressos. My Airbnb had a little espresso maker, so I had like 3 espressos before I started. So that kind of helped. That gave me a little boost.
Incredible.
Yeah,
that's quite the story. I think I really relate to that in some ways, particularly this week. Just that training is really hard sometimes, and I do share some of that feeling of being like, okay, well, these are things that I got to get done. It's part of my week. It's part of my day that's really important to me, that I do it, that I do the run, that I do the workout, whatever it is. And, for me, this week is really crazy. We have parent teacher conferences, which just means a couple extra super long days at work. That throws off my whole schedule, my whole routine. It's all out the window. And, I'm finding that I'm really stressed about training this week. And, getting in my runs and my workouts, and I'm like, I can't do it all, but it feels really bad to not do it all. And also I don't know if it's possible. Yeah.
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 And it's fine. I think
it's fine.
I think it's fine.
It's one workout. It'll be okay.
Actually, it won't. No, I'm going back. It won't be fine. We have to do everything every single day. No grace given. David Goggins approach right now, right here. Let's do it. Let's actually do these podcasts as we're running.
So I'm going to go ahead and refuse that
one. I forgot to mention this at the beginning. I just saw your logo on your jacket. This is also a podcast sponsored by Ultra, by the way, for those that don't know. I should probably throw that in there.
A new rain jacket in the mail today.
No way.
Ultra.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can't wait to wear it. Hope it never rains.
Did Cold Dog send you a rain jacket?
Yeah, I didn't even ask for it. It just showed up.
He He probably heard a
So
podcast
nice.
about, maybe we were talking about the Northeast and how rainy it was. Maybe he was just like, yeah, let's send them a good rain jacket.
Shout out Colby.
Love Colby.
He's really doing the most out there.
Yeah, he's probably listening.
Yeah.
He loves a podcast. Colby loves podcasts.
Good.
He's making moves. Anyways, I thought maybe we should probably start on our DNF story about
Let's hear it.
This is an ultra marathon DNF story, and it's a story sent by my friend Helen Mino Faukner. She is a professional Hoka athlete, and you can probably find her on a speedy course covered in glitter, heart-shaped sunglasses with a ginormous smile. She is always smiling. So much joy radiating from her. She is a gem of a human. She recently placed fourth at Tarawera with a time of 9:03 and actually turned down her golden ticket because she's got better things to do. She's Helen. She's got so many great things to do. She is an absolute crusher, but her story she shared with us today proves that even professional athletes have devastating DNFs. So I'm going to get right into it. It was in 2022. Helen was unsponsored and working at an outdoor gear shop, which I think that's how a lot of these athletes start. And it was the first year of the UTMB World Series. And they had like this thing you could do where you'd put in an application as an unsponsored runner, and you would get support to travel to a World Series race of your choice. So like UTMB would pay for like your travel, which I think is incredible. Like that's great. That's a great initiative. I think maybe more of these like race companies should put that into place. Obviously UTMB has their flaws, but I think that's a great initiative. So, because it's hard to go to these races, it's a lot of money to travel. And so she really wanted to go to Utah for Speed Goat. And that was originally the only race that she had put on her application. And this woman she worked with, she's like, you can't just apply to go to Utah. Like Utah's great, but like UTMB races are all over the world. You can see anywhere in the world and they'll pay for it. And it's a great opportunity to just like pick anywhere and, go there. And so she agreed and she put Mexico down, the race in Mexico. And so her application was actually chosen for Puerto Vallarta in Mexico by UTMB, the 50K race. And she was so excited to receive that travel support to go to that race. Puerto Vallarta sounds incredible. I did a little research, as I do. They have beaches, obviously, the Sierra Madre Mountains. It's a tropical climate. It's a little wet and it's a little tropical. It's also very humid. We would know about that. And it's hot. Tourism is about 80% of the city's economy. And some fun facts. This is from a website. Quote, Puerto Vallarta is known for being one of the most welcoming destinations in Mexico for the LGBT plus community. The southern area of the city, called the Romantic Zone, has been considered as the #1 gay beach destination in all of Latin America. I'd love to read that. Yeah, and you search like Puerto Vallarta on Google, and like there's a bunch of flags, like rainbow flags, and I was like so excited to see that. Also, among the typical tropical dishes of Vallarta, iguana meat was commonly found in the menus, but after being declared a protected species, the consumption of iguana has actually been prohibited. So you can't find that there anymore, which is good, I guess. But the race, back to the race, it was at the end of October, so it's still like a little warm. It's still like a tropical climate. And it was actually right before Dia de los Muertos. So that was super cool. And all the downtown was decorated. And there's like huge sculptures. Everything's decorated. There's a lot of excitement for that. And she mentioned there wasn't much of a language barrier either. As an international traveler myself, I have had to deal with the language barriers of these amazing countries I have traveled to as a solo international cultured traveler. So I asked her, naturally, as one traveler to the next, was there a language barrier? And she says there wasn't really. And that she did take like a little bit of Spanish in high school, and so she was able to communicate. So no worries on that. Most recently, before this, she had run CCC a few months before, and that was the first time she had run with a headlamp during a race. So Arlee, just a little question. What is your go-to headlamp for a race? Do you have like a go-to like bright old headlamp? You're shaking your head no.
I've got a couple Petzl Actics or Actic Core maybe.
Mm-hmm.
They're fine. They're good. I've got this one headlamp. It's an Energizer brand. You can find them at Walmart that I found in a swamp in the Adirondacks. It's really bright.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite one.
Does it last a long time?
I think so. We used to use them for caving when I used to lead caving trips, and they're like really bright.
Caving trips. Where did you do caving trips?
In West Virginia.
Oh, right. That's cool.
Back in the day. Back when I did those things as my job.
Yeah, and typically caves are pretty dark. So
you could say the darkest. Yeah. Yeah, you could say the darkest.
Well, for everyone.
So yeah, my headlamp game is it's pretty average.
I mean, for all those that are looking for a good headlamp, I guess Energizer.
Honestly,
from
the
Walmart.
Energizer ones that you can buy at Walmart, they're super bright. They're the same weight as any regular headlamp. And I think they're great.
Okay. Well, that's good beta. I need to remember that. Well, I use Ultra Spire and they're pretty great as well. The batteries sometimes don't last. It depends on what battery I have. I have some batteries that will last me 4 hours and then some will last me longer. I just need to remember that battery is not, because you can switch them out. I just need to remember that battery is not the good battery. Anyways, the only time she had practice with a headlamp was a week before CCC when she realized she hadn't ever used it before and she thought it would be good to try it out. So she didn't really have a whole lot of experience with using a headlamp. So that's going to come in a little later because the race started at 7 a.m. But since it was almost November, the sun didn't rise until 8:30 a.m. Which was fine. Whatever. She's going to be able to use the headlamp. She was pretty stoked about the entire race, and she is pretty stoked about it starting at 7 a.m. too, because she's not really great with heat and humidity, so she's grateful that it started before the sun came up. And I would have to agree with that. I love an early start, even though having to carry the headlamp a little further is a little annoying. I think an earlier start, especially in a humid and hot area, is ideal. As someone who grew up in North Carolina, where it is hot and most definitely humid, how do you deal with those factors, especially in July and August, as a native North Carolinian, Arlee?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, bless your heart, sweetie.
Yeah, bless your heart is right if you're out there running in that. I think you lube up real good.
Mm-hmm.
And the salt pours out of your body and you got to pour it right back in.
Yeah.
And you know what? Bless your heart.
Yeah, just hold on for dear life.
Wait till the sun goes down. There's a great Kenny Chesney song about
when the sun goes down.
We'll be grooving when the
sun goes down. We'll be running on the trails all night because it's hot and humid and I'm not wanting to run in it.
Yeah, it's a painful experience to run in thick humidity.
Yeah. So
there's no reward to it.
Great heat training, though. Amazing heat training.
Great heat training.
Yeah.
Great chafe training.
Yeah. Get your skin real thick. Thick skin.
And raw.
Get ready for that raw skin in the shower after a run. I've been getting a lot of chafe in areas unspoken, I don't have to say, and the shower is so painful. It's been happening so often. I'm I literally yelp in the shower
every night.
Every night.
Every night. Every time I run. Something rubs wrong.
Okay, going back to the race organizers kept saying how exciting and how cool the course was because it ran through a bunch of private property. So no one had ever really been able to run there before. So I pause when she says that because I'm like, wait a second. First of all, when a race director's like overly excited about something, it usually means like they're just trying to hype people up for something that's probably not going to be like incredible, in my opinion. And that usually means like private property means like there's no established trail probably because people don't hike on it often. It's private property. And also I have concerns about trespassing a lot, like especially in America where the guns be flowing and people be a little unhinged, if you will. I'm a little nervous when I see those private property signs, keep out in bold letters, you will be shot on premises. So, I'm not super crazy about that kind of stuff. My first 50 miler went through some sketchy areas and I don't think we were supposed to be there. It was a really like grassroots race, like not super established. So I was a little nervous doing that one and trespassing. How do you feel about this race organizer saying like, get ready to run through private property?
Okay, well, it's giving backyards and it's giving driveways. And, we had a cross-country race in high school that ran through some people's backyards. And then we ended up in a cemetery, which also felt inappropriate. And, one time I accidentally ran onto private property because I got duped by a map and like a loudspeaker came on and told me to get lost.
No
And
way.
I was like, yeah, it was in Chapel Hill. I was freaking out.
No way.
Yeah, it was really scary. So, I'm suspicious of this race course. It's feeling illegitimate and it's feeling concocted.
I love that. Well, it will come up later, trust me. Helen remembers standing on the start line with her friend Tara. Great name, by the way. Love Tara as a name. And she was feeling so stressed, Helen was. And she says it's not typical for her to feel like this amount of stress. And she doesn't really know why she was feeling so stressed. And I asked her, like, what do you think it was? She says she thinks it was just like women's intuition. And she just felt something. Us women, we feel things deeply. And there have been times that I've been on journeys and races. And before I started, I've ignored the feeling of like this doom feeling. And I think I should like pay more attention to that. I think there's definitely something to like intuition. I'm not a real deep thinker, but like that just got me thinking of it. Have you ever like felt that like intuition before something that like went maybe not the best? Like, not to bring up a tough memory, but like the Colorado Trail, did you feel any sort of apprehension?
Oh yeah, it's for a different episode. But I will say on the intuition front, I'm in the midst of teaching a unit on personal safety to all of my kindergarten through sixth grade students. And in fifth grade today, we were talking about how vibes are important.
So important.
How vibes matter.
Vibes matter hugely. If you're not feeling it, like there's something to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder if Helen heard the race organizer, hyping up the private property running. And she was like, wait a second. So the race starts on the road through town, which sounds great. And it goes up a hill on pavement. And then eventually it hits some single track after a mile or two. And she tells me her paces for like these first 5 miles. She says she did 10:19, which was like 562 feet up, 14:16, which was like 700 feet up, 16:33, which is like 430 feet up, 16:25s, that was like 500 feet up, and then 14:21, which was like 300. We're climbing. She's climbing. She thinks they're on the road for like the first 1.5 miles, and then she says, then they hit the trail. I'm doing like bunny ears right now. So she quickly realized during this time that they're like hitting the trail that her headlamp was like half as bright as everyone else's around her. And she just couldn't see that well. So during CCC, when she finally got her headlamp out, she wasn't really near anyone. So she didn't know how her headlamp lacked in brightness. So I can definitely agree. Like when your headlamp's not the brightest, like you can't really see because like your eyes are adjusting to these other people's headlamps. And so it's very like off-putting when you're among a lot of other people. Yeah, your path is being lit by their headlamp, but it's not like they're lighting up your direct path. And also it's like single track. So it's like what's in front of you. So she just realized like her headlamp was not bright. So we got some private property running. We've got a non-bright headlamp. And so she goes on to say trail and single track are also very loose terms. She is not exaggerating when she says there wasn't a trail. There was just a hole in the jungle where it felt like someone had just come in with a machete the day before. And Helen, she will say this a lot, but she thought it was hilarious because there's no way that isn't funny. Helen says it a lot where she just like looks back and she's like, there's no way you can't laugh at this situation because it's just so ridiculous. You're just running through a freshly macheted jungle. So Helen learns if it's private property and people don't typically run there, there probably isn't a high probability there's actually a trail. So everyone keep that in mind. If your race organizer's like, get ready to be on some private property, it's going to be amazing. Just be like, whoa, hold up. Is this a trail or are we just running through the jungle? So how are you feeling at this point, Arlee, with the prospects of this trail and, you know, the headlamp and how it's going for Helen? Like, what are your general feelings surrounding the situation?
The headlamp thing, I would be so frustrated by that because it's just so frustrating when your headlamp is dim. Like it's hard to trust your feet with a dim headlamp. It's so hard.
Yeah.
If I'm like bushwhacking, essentially, I'm like, what kind of race is this? I want a refund. I want my money back right now. This is not Barkley. I'm expecting a trail to be pre-blazed. I'm not a trailblazer right now. But like, it's like, you gotta laugh at it. I love her attitude. I think her attitude's fantastic.
She says this so often, like in her write-up that she sent me, where she's just like, it was so funny. And she's like talking about how she's gonna be crying a little bit soon. And she just talks about like how funny it was also. So love Helen for her attitude. Also, if you guys like follow her on Instagram, you see what kind of person she is. I don't know her Instagram, but like Helen, I can actually look it up right now. Helen is just such a joy, and it's Helen Red Cloud. That is her username. So definitely look her up and like give her a follow because she's such a joyful person. And that just kind of gives you a picture of like who we're talking about and like how this race went and like, you know, her reaction towards it. Is it super in character for her? So you can only imagine like what the race was actually like. So about 5 miles into the race, there was a steep dirt downhill and she couldn't see because her headlamp's not bright. And she trips on a root and fell down the side of a hill. She starts head first and then kind of tumbled until she stopped abruptly and she like traveled around 20 feet in all. So it's not like super far, but it's like far enough to where you're like, you go head first. That's a little terrifying. And she's downhill at this process. And during like her fall, she hears her ankle pop. So what would you have done at this point if you had just fallen down a hill off the trail and you heard your ankle pop? What are the first reactions?
I'm trying to get my bearings, first of all. Kind of like, have I stopped falling? Am I in one place? Am I still moving?
I kind of look around. I look at my body and I'm like, did I get impaled? Is there any impalements?
Active blood.
Yeah. Because
I'm like, how do I get back up to the trail? I feel like I'm down in an embankment right now, in a ditch, maybe.
In a jungle ditch, because we've established.
I'm worried about snakes.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Poisonous ants. So many things. There's so many things in jungles you have to worry about.
So, you know, if I hear my ankle pop, that honestly might be one of my last worries at the moment. I feel like that's something that I'm going to be thinking about when I get back to the trail, when I feel safe again.
So Helen decided to like get up, back up and she starts running again and immediately fell for a second time. The second fall was more like she, a typical like trail running fall. She just felt like super unstable with her ankle and slipped on something. It was like, just more typical trail running fall as we always do. And she put her hands out, fell on her knee, and it became clear abruptly at this point. We're 5 miles in. It became clear that her race was over. And this begins the journey to get help or to get off the race course. So oftentimes with ultra marathons, it's not like you're on a marathon road course where you can literally just veer off and then maybe get picked up by somebody. Like you have to travel. The next journey, like after you've decided like, oh yeah, this is the end of my race, you then have to find your way back to safety, if you will. Like that is the second journey of a DNF. There's oftentimes the realization and then there's the journey after that. And that's always the worst because that oftentimes comes with a lot of, in my opinion, not everyone, shame because you're walking to the next aid station or you're walking back. And that's just how I feel about that. So it became clear to her that her race was over because her ankle had popped. She was not running. She just felt like really sad and disappointed that her race was over so early, like 5 miles after, like over a 50K. That's so soon. And she held on to hope that she was going to be able to get to the end after the first fall, but quickly realized after the second fall that, that wasn't a reality. And Helen says sometimes you keep telling yourself it's totally fine and not that big of a problem. And then realizing that it wasn't fine was just very, very sad for her. So that's upsetting for sure. Also, like traveling that long distance and like maybe hanging out in a culture and excited to like explore this private property tropical environment. Maybe it's not the best at the moment, but like just holding on to hope that maybe it's going to get better, and then you're not able to do that. So a few runners stopped to help her. One guy was a veterinarian and gave her a pill, which she was unsure of what it actually was. She just took it, and then he helped her wrap her ankle. And wouldn't that be insane if like this story, it doesn't turn into this, but I was thinking when I was like reading this story, I was like, what if it was insane? This story turns into like a total trip and she's taken like, I don't know, like acid or something or like a mushroom pill and she's just like tripping like
we're on a rave.
Whoa, what's going on, man?
Ultra rave.
I feel so much better now. I can run. I feel like the best. But like they tied her shoes super tight and she was like, okay, I think I can run. And then she fell again. And she's like, okay, no, there's no way. We all do this. We all have this journey of realization. Like, it's like what is it? 5, you're a counselor, like the signs of like the steps
you
of
want
grief.
to just keep trying different quick fixes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just like
until it's like, oh, and then you're like, wait, I'm actually like, you do crazy stuff to try and convince yourself that you can still run and you're not hurt. Like one time I was like, oh, it's just because I skipped my strength workout. If I do that, I'll be better.
Aww.
Not true.
Yeah.
It's not what happened. I was still injured. The strength workout probably made it worse.
Yeah, that's kind of like Helen was just like, she just kept trying and she just realized there's no way I can do this for another 25 miles. And so she realized the fastest way to an aid station was to turn around. And that meant Helen would be walking past the entire field, hysterically sobbing, which is absolutely devastating. Arlee, if you were a runner passing Helen, what would you say to her at this point?
I don't know what I would say. I would feel so like, oh, my heart goes out to you. Maybe a high five or fist bump, my condolences.
I like that.
I think it's hard to have any good words that would really be meaningful in those moments.
And it's also, you don't probably know that person. And like some people just want to be like left alone and other people are like, I need support right now. And so you never really know when you're just passing them quickly. So oftentimes like I say, which I don't think is helpful for everyone. When I pass somebody who's walking, I say, come on, come run with me. We can do it together. You're fine. And I know that probably pisses a lot of people off because they're like, you have no idea. You have no idea what I'm going through right now. Somebody gave me a random pill and I am on a different planet right now. But she tried to call the race directors, but also she had no service in the middle of the jungle. So she eventually got into contact with them after walking a while, walking past, the entire field. And they said they would send somebody to come pick her up near the aid station, which was just a table with a couple water cups on it. This is on par with the race we are expecting, this private property race, just water cup table makes sense. She hobbled about 2 miles, crying the entire time, and people in the race were so nice, kept asking if she was okay, needed help. A few people actually offered to give up their entire race and just walk with her, which is insane. Eventually, a very small dog, like a Yorkshire Terrier, showed up. And she told me this was some guy who came to walk her back. This was his dog. But before that, I was like, where'd the dog come from? But yeah, he was owned by a person, which I think is just so cute and hilarious. And so eventually, she also has a video of this too. I wonder if I can get that video, but she's hobbling and crying. And then there's just this little Yorkshire Terrier walking with her through the jungle. So maybe on the Instagram. Oh, by the way, we just made an Instagram. We did not talk about that yet. We made an Instagram. What is it called?
I think it's called DNF Diaries. I don't know. Oh, my phone's right behind me. I can look.
Yeah, it is DNF.diaries. And so on there, you'll find some good context of, what we're talking about. So the first post is Arlee's awesome shirt that I made them. And you'll just get updates. And also maybe I'll throw this video of Helen walking through the jungle, hobbling with a little dog on there. So check out DNF.diaries on Instagram. So shortly after, a man on an ATV showed up to drive her through the jungle. To the road where an ambulance was waiting for her, and she was still crying. She was so sad that her race ended, and also her ankle hurt so bad. The ATV man saw how upset she was and kept trying to cheer her up, and he actually offered to let her drive a couple times, which she thought was very funny. I would definitely take him up on that. She got to see the sunrise over the town on the ATV, and it was so pretty, she said. She got down to the road and they sprayed her ankle with a can of cold, which I've never heard of before. And they said they had to take her to the med tent at the race. She got there and they're convinced that she had broke her ankle, but she was pretty sure she hadn't, since she had just walked 2 miles in a lot of pain, but she had walked 2 miles. And they made her go to the hospital. So she got an ambulance ride, and they did x-rays, and she mentions that it was actually a very pleasant time, which is on par with a Helen, Mino, Faukner attitude, thinking a hospital visit is very pleasant. But she said it was only $300 without insurance. Incredible. And she didn't break her ankle. It was just a sprain, and she tore some ligaments. And she says this was her first time she DNF'd a race and was so upset, especially since she went all that way to Mexico and literally ran 5 miles. She thinks she learned that you can't just do a race because it's free, though. I want to ask you, have you ever gotten a free race entry? And are you if you haven't, would you be a sucker to just do that race because it's free? I know I would.
I got a free entry into Rim to River 100, and I really thought about it because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. Well, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it because it was the same weekend as Rut Fest, which is the greatest race of all time that the Richmond Trail Running Club puts on every year. And so I was like, well, I would have to miss that.
Right.
But ultimately I was like, it's a free 100. I'm doing it. I want to run 100 again. It's free. Absolutely. Sign me up. So I signed up. Yeah.
It's also very iconic. That's a great race.
Yeah. It was such a great race. I'm so glad I went. I feel like it's hard to pass up a free race.
It is.
Unless, I feel like if you're like, well, I just don't want to do that, then probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because there's some races where I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't feel interesting to me.
Would you do a free race in Mexico in Puerto Vallarta if it was a 50K? Would you do this if you got the free race entry?
If I could turn it into a vacation.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like a great place to vacation.
Yeah.
She also said that she wanted her season to be done after CCC because the previous year she had ran Broken Arrow. Previous year in October she ran Broken Arrow, and then after her because the previous year she ran Broken Arrow, after her first 100K and realized it was just too much to extend herself, and like the season was like late and she just didn't listen because it was a free race entry. It was like, she says that it was like a freak accident and it totally makes sense why she fell down that hill, which I'm a little confused about. Like, it kind of does make sense with the trail conditions, but like, I don't think she should like blame herself at all. It sounds like the race was just very technical. So actually afterwards, she talked to her friends about their experience and she says it was probably best she didn't like go any further because her friend Alex got trench foot. Who gets trench foot in like 2022 or like modern day? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people, but like during a 50K race, maybe a 100-miler, but like, that's insane.
I'm shook.
She heard the rest of the race was just like so technical and went through like a riverbed, and she just was like, it was so silly. She felt she was really sad after the race and also felt like she got what she deserved, honestly, which I don't agree with. Like, she does not deserve to have this terrible ankle sprain incident. She talks about how great like some factors were. Like, she got to ride on an ATV, she got to watch the sunrise, she got an ambulance ride, she had a pleasant experience at the hospital, but like, no way does she deserve to like have that happen. Her ankle did heal, luckily, and she found acupuncture through that injury, so that was very helpful. And yeah, she is crushing it these days. So obviously that injury does not like impede her performance anymore. But we'll just go to like our last question that we always say this after these stories, but what would you have done differently? If there is, do you have anything that you can think of that you would do differently?
Not really. I kind of agree with everything that Helen, said and felt. I agree with you, Tara. She doesn't deserve, to get hurt. And I don't think I would have done anything differently than she did. What about you?
I think it's important to listen to your body. So if she was like really like worn down, was like, oh my gosh, like I don't think I can do that. Like, that's important to listen to your body and like be realistic with what you think your body can do. So maybe if she's getting signals not to run, then maybe it's important to listen to those. But no way does she deserve to get like an ankle sprain or like any of that. I think that is like not realistic. Like, you don't deserve that. But I'm glad she's like all good though. And you can see Helen just crushing it. So follow her on Instagram, Helen Red Cloud. Do you have anything else about this story you want to mention?
I loved it. This is a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, that race sounds chaotic at best.
I wonder if it's changed at all.
I also love to hear about it. Yeah, this was great. Oh my gosh. Helen, thank you for sharing your story with us. Tara, thanks for telling the story. Yeah. Ultra, thanks for sponsoring us.
Yeah. So, that is our DNF story for this week. In 2 weeks, we are going to have Arlee telling a story in either FKT through hike or just another, maybe a kid DNF. You've mentioned that, which I'm very intrigued about. So Arlee's going to be telling the next story. Arlee, what's your Instagram so people can follow you if they want to?
Yeah, you can catch me at a.hisk on Instagram. It's the only place you can find me on the internet.
No Facebooks?
You could go there, but there's no reason to. I'm not going there. Yeah.
You don't repost a bunch of like AI videos that fake you?
No.
There's only AI videos ridiculous videos on Facebook. On Instagram, I'm Tara.Dower, and again, Helen Red Cloud. And then also follow our Instagram, DNF Diaries. That is a fun place to be. If you enjoy this podcast, please review it. If you didn't enjoy it, then that's not a function. You can't review it. There's no way you can do that review function if you didn't like it. Arlee, you have any closing remarks?
Send us your stories. We can't wait to hear them. It's such a joy to read all the stories that we get in that inbox. So
yeah, thank you
guys. Send them our way.
Yeah, thank you guys.
DNFconfessions@gmail.com.
And also review it and send us your like comments and your reviews. I love reading the reviews. Maybe we should start something to where we read a review.
Well, let's talk about it.
I think let's talk about it. Will Peterson does that on his podcast.
5-star reviews only.
Oh, is it only 5-star? Does he only talk about 5-star? Oh. Good
I think
idea.
so.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll talk
Yeah.
about it, but like if you do want your review to be like in the mix, if we do talk about it, then send a 5-star review.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
See you later, team.
Bye.